was just excited to write a whole book. And I was like, oh, I did that. That's cool. Like when I say I have a trigger warning list, like I mean that in a very serious way.
I'm Vanna from TBR Trio, and in this episode of Tales in Focus, we are at the Biblo Hub in Roanoke, Virginia. Today, we're sitting down with Poppy Fitzgerald, a dark romance suspense author who writes stories where things are not always what they seem. She currently has 2 books released in her Birch Falls series, Astray and Exile, and her 3rd book, Duress, releasing on August 1st. Before we dive in, please keep in mind we are at an open and active store, so you may hear some background noise as the interview goes on. We also want to note that the books we'll be discussing contain mature and potentially triggering themes. We encourage our viewers to always read the content warnings in the books before reading and or listening. Last but not least, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming author interviews. It really does help us a lot. Now, please join me in welcoming Poppy. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to be here to talk to you about your journey, your books, and everything in between. Before we dive into your amazing series, I have a couple icebreaker questions for you to kind of loosen up a little bit.
Okay.
First one is, if you were the villain or morally gray character in a romance novel, what would your dramatic backstory be? Just like a high level.
So I was trying to think of like what would be my morally gray theme. And keeping in theme with some of my books, I would probably be, the song Goodbye Earl, Mary and Wanda were the best of friends, and Earl had to die. Yeah. I think I would be the best friend that's like, he's gotta go. We're gonna take care of that. That's not gonna. And so maybe I'd be like a vigilante best friend that would go around like helping women out of less than ideal situations, and maybe I could find myself a morally gray man that would like help me out with my
partner up with you, do what you gotta do. All right, I love that. What is your biggest weakness? Cliffhangers, morally great characters, or unexpected plot twists?
Honestly, my biggest weakness as a writer is the descriptive details of like what characters are wearing and how they look and the environment that they're in. Like I can do emotions, I can do drama, I can do spice, I can do all of that all day long. But my character, she's wearing a white dress and she's in a red room and
things happen. Things happen
there. Like I just kind of like skim over like those kind of details. Like some authors will go in extreme detail and be like, she's wearing this outfit from head to toe. And my brain, I'm like, oh, she's wearing a brown jacket. Okay. I'm just gonna go with that.
Yeah. What about as a reader? What would you say your weakness is?
I like to understand character motivations, and so if they like make decisions that I'm just like, what are you doing? A lot of times that like takes me out of it. If the author does a really good job of like making me understand that character and why they make those decisions, I'm like, oh yeah, that tracks. That's for them. They're gonna be dumb. That's fine. If it's just for the sake of like a plot device to keep the plot moving, I'm like, no, we can't do that.
It's like why? All right, last question. If you had to title your current life chapter like a dark romance book, what would it be?
Everything's on fire and it all sucks.
Well, that's a book I would love to read.
I mean, not my life in general is fine, but just the general everything, just like that's hard to get past right now. But
well, I would read the book. I'm there.
Everything's on fire and it sucks.
Oh my God. Tell us about yourself. What made you want to become a writer?
Well, I've been a lifelong reader, like my whole life. I was the nerd in school, like reading books for fun and getting the free pizzas and whatnot, because that's just what I like to do. And in middle school and high school, I dabbled in like creative writing, fan fiction, different things like that. But so I always liked writing, but I always assumed in order to become a writer and publish books, like that's not an attainable goal. Like that is one of those things that only a few people get to do. And so I didn't pursue it and didn't write anything after high school until I wrote Astray, when I realized, oh, these people writing these books that I'm reading, they're just like me. They're just normal people who decided to write a book and publish it themselves. And I didn't realize that was an option. So I was like, I'm going to do it.
You're like, I'm going to go for it. Yeah. I mean, they can do it. Why not me? Right.
Yeah. So it reignited a passion I had when I was younger. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot.
And look at what you came up with. 3 books. Are you like a pantser or a plotter? Like, how do you write?
I am 100% a pantser.
So you just kind of whatever sparks your mind is what you write.
Yeah. With Astray, I just had like the opening scene in the bar stuck in my head for like weeks, and I finally was just like, I'm gonna write it down and just see where it goes. I had some friends that I met through like the book community, and they read it as I was writing it, and I figured, like, if they tell me it's terrible, then I'll just forget about it. They loved it, and they kept begging me for more, and like their cheerleading was like the motivation I needed to keep going. I didn't like pre-plan anything. It was just like I'd wake up in the morning and be like, oh, this happens next. And I'd write it down and then wait a little while. And then the next scene would pop into my head. No, this happens next. And I write it down. Like, I don't know where the story's going until I get there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just as surprised as you are.
You're like figuring it out, like as we're figuring it out too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. That's cool.
Did you know like what your characters were going to be like, or is...
So with Astray, the main thing I did know is that I wanted the husband to be the hero. Because I noticed in a trend with romance books is like a lot of times if there's a married couple, it's an unhappy marriage. The husbands are not great. And this is her wish fulfillment to get out, and she finds a man that treats her well. But like, I generally like my husband that I have in real life. He's pretty cool. And I wanted to write a book that like gave justice to the husbands.
Yeah.
And so I wrote Astray, and like I pulled from very realistic examples of like the kind of struggles marriages go through, because I've seen my friends go through them. And I just wanted to prove that just because love isn't easy or perfect doesn't mean it's not worth fighting for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's super important. Usually, and you're right, usually like I would say 95% of the time, most of the books that we read, the female main character is stuck in a current situation, and then there's always like an out type of thing. So I loved that the twist was that it was the husband that ends up being her happy ever after at the end, which
not everybody appreciated that ending, but a lot of people did.
I appreciated that ending because I too love my husband. Well, what made you want to go into like the dark romance genre?
I was reading a lot of it at the time when I started writing Astray, and I was seeing a lot of the same tropes and themes recycled over and over again. And I like to be surprised when I read a book. Like if a book catches me completely off guard and I can't predict what's going to happen, and I'm like, oh my God, really? I love that. I love it when a book catches me off guard. And so I decided I was going to try to flip the tropes and see what I could do with that. Like, oh, the dark, tall, sexy stranger who's stalking me is like, this is kind of exciting. And then like I put the real life rules in place where like, no, we actually don't like this. We don't like being stalked. Stalking is bad. Because I wanted it to feel real, but also like a little fantasy with the romance and like the extremes Caleb goes to like save his wife and all that. So I wanted to write dark, but I wanted it to still be based in reality.
Yeah, you wanted to make it like more relatable. Like, yes, this is actually what happens. Don't don't go too off the deep.
I mean, I like those other ones too. Like I've read plenty of the Darkstalker, he's the hero kind of books, and like I'll eat that stuff up. But when I write it, I don't know, comes out backwards.
They're good backwards.
The red flags are actual red flags.
It's like actually what the red flag means. Yeah. What would you say is like the hardest part as you were writing dark romance, and what would you say was the most freeing or most rewarding part?
The hardest part's probably tackling some of these themes in a respectful way that doesn't feel like I'm exploiting it just for shock value. Like I know some readers like to use trigger warnings as shopping lists and whatnot. I mean, that's fine. It's what it is. But like when I say I have a trigger warning list, like I mean that in a very serious way. Like definitely read through it. And if it's not for you, that's fine. And I just hope that I do a good job in tackling these subjects, that if somebody does read it, it's not causing them any harm by bringing up bad memories. And I want them to feel more healed afterwards and not hurt. That's probably the trickiest part of writing the dark romance book.
To like find that balance and make sure you're not going too off, too far left, too far right type of thing. As we have already been talking about, the dark romance genre has kind of a reputation, I would say, that it talks about taboo topics, things that are not often talked about on a daily conversation. It's known for like the spice and all that. There's always a deeper message. There's always a significance of, okay, we're writing this because. So what is your because for not just Astray, but all of your books so far?
So I know a lot of dark romance like readers and writers, they tackle these subjects because it's their way of like processing trauma or just taking back something that was taken from them. With my books, it is kind of like that fantasy fulfillment of like the bad guy gets his in the end. Like the bad guys actually get punished, because we know in real life examples when these things happen to women, a lot of times they go unreported or they go reported and then they're like, nah, are you sure? Are you sure that wasn't consensual? Just we get dismissed and pushed aside. And so I wanted to write books that actually show red flags are the red flags, and the woman gets listened to and the bad guy gets punished. I wanted books like that. And I wanted to highlight that there are very real examples of like the police ignoring women when they have complaints, or not investigating things the way they should be, or profiling or whatnot. And I just wanted to like take those real life situations, but then give them a happy ending.
I love how you plotted it, and it's like a full circle moment, but it's like there were so many emotions when I was reading this book. But there was anger, there was frustration, but at the end it's like, okay, it's kind of like a relief. Like we saw this, like it happened, and this is how it should be resolved. You've published these books independently. You're a self-published author. Can you tell us a little bit about what has been like the most rewarding part of being self-published, and maybe some things that you didn't expect or you found challenging?
I think the most rewarding thing is when people I don't know read my books and then they send me a message and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you wrote that. And I went through the same situation, or I went through something similar and it was so right. Or like, I know exactly what you're talking about, or I knew what those red flags were. Like I saw the warning signs and I was screaming at her to turn around and run away. But just like hearing how other people relate to my books and they like actually truly relate to them, that's really cool. That is so cool.
It probably feels like, oh my God, like they probably like they feel seen, and like you helped bring that to life.
I mean, I've got a fan friend in Australia. She found me on Threads and she read my books, and like I'm number one cheerleader. I love her to death. And when she read Duress and Exile, like the abusive situations in them, like she had been in similar situations before, and she was like, yeah, this is like spot on. And like, I'm happy somebody like her could read it and see what happened, understand is very real. But then I gave the character the happy ending that hopefully they get in real life too. And just hearing that validation of like somebody who's gone through that and I made it better for them, I love that.
It's very impactful for sure. And like I said, make them feel seen and understood. And like, yes, this is how I felt. That's awesome. And what are some things that maybe you didn't expect self-publishing?
Going from reader space into author space and peeking behind the curtain and seeing the wizard, like that was pretty startling. The ins and outs of the author versus reader community and the do's and the don'ts, and honestly the amount of work that goes into getting people to read your books. Like I did not expect how much time I would have to spend on social media. Like, oh my God, if somebody had told me this, I don't know if I would have published a book, because I am not naturally a social media person, and
it's a lot of work.
I am definitely the kind of person who would much rather just write the book and get it out there and let whatever happens. But unfortunately, if I did that, then nobody would read it. So I've got to grind and make people see it. And that's been the hardest, like, unexpected part. I didn't think that I was going to have to deal with all that.
What are some things that you do to kind of help you? Like, do you have like a content schedule, or what are some things? Do you do anything to help you? Or do you kind of just like, yeah, I'm gonna just post whenever I want to post? Then
More or less,
okay.
I am winging it all of the time. I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, I'm just not organized enough to pre-plan muscle. I should do it, but that's just not who I am as a person. I'm a chaos goblin through and through. I don't even pre-plan my novels. How am I going to pre-plan my social media? Like,
that's fair.
I'm just going to throw it out there and see what works.
Yep, and just hope that like someone sees it. It's definitely gotten some traction for sure, and I
so
yeah, and I know you've gotten a lot of love for it. So
yeah, I know it's a long game, and I know like instant fame is not a thing that normally happens. And I work full time. I have a family. Mm-hmm. Like, this was just a thing I decided to do on a whim. And so I'm giving it as much energy as I'm willing to give it. And if it gets bigger, it gets bigger. If it doesn't, that's fine too. We're going to make sure it gets bigger. It's going to get bigger. Well, let's talk about your books. So before we dive into the story, I want to know what inspired the titles and the covers of your books. Also, if you want to talk about the beautiful bedazzled covers, please tell us about that. Okay. So my friend Candace, she bedazzled these for me and brought them to me when I did my signing at Novel Grounds in Norfolk, Williamsburg, Norfolk. I don't know, somewhere over that end of Virginia. I'm sure you probably know about it. And she brought these up for me and she bedazzled them. They're so pretty. So pretty. The cover design was basically me sending a Pinterest board to my cover designer and being like, these vibes. And she came up with this, like, basically right out the gate. I only had like minor suggestions as far as like the coloring and making sure it's like readable. Mm-hmm. But she just took my Pinterest board and then turned it into a book cover that actually we could use and not just Pinterest pictures. So the next book I was like, okay, like this, but with these people. And like that one, I had some friends help. I'm not a design person. Like I said, I don't do descriptions. I don't do that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not a visually, I'm a wordy person, not a picture person. And you wrote the book. So. Fortunately, my cover designer is really, really good. She's really good. She's fantastic. Yeah. The title, Astray. My working title was Oh Darling, because I had a song in my head from the White Buffalo, Oh Darling. Oh darling, what have I done? The word astray is in the song. And I was like, I like that. It has a ring to it. And so Astray became the title. Exile is actually a Taylor Swift title song. She has a song with Bon Iver, however you say his name, called Exile. And it actually is very fitting to the theme of the book, but I had a theme going with the one word titles, and so then duress, I'm like, I gotta stick with the theme. And my good friend Jessica Q, she's a writer too, but she suggested duress, and she's a lawyer, which is nice because she answered all my law questions when I was writing that one. But yeah, I'm stuck in a one word title theme now. I don't know how long that's gonna have to last. But it grabs the attention because you're like, ooh. And it's just right there. And it's like, ooh, what is that? What is that about? Mm-hmm. What is the story? But it's really cool. Just out of curiosity, the colors, were they just random? Or did you decide like, okay, I want purple, green, and red? I think my cover designer, Amanda, she came up with the purple and I loved it. With this one, we actually had to make a few more changes with it because like there's a cop car on the back of here. And so she originally made it blue and red, and it was just like, too policey, because I'm like, he's not the good guy, and I don't want it to look like that. Somehow we landed on teal, green, whatever the colors. Yeah. And I thought it worked. And one of my friends who was like alpha reading duress for me, they suggested the raspberry pink. I'm like, sounds good. Looks like a set. We'll go with it. It looks really nice. I just love the colors. They're so vibrant. Everything is a village effort over here. Yeah. Like, I take a lot of input, and you just write the story and then everyone else gives you the input. But yes, it does take a village for sure. Well, these books, they're all in the same world essentially, but they're standalones. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about each book and how they kind of connect to each other. Like, I wrote Astray with no real firm plans to write more than one book. I was just excited to write a whole book. And I was like, oh, I did that. That's cool. But as I was writing it and I had introduced the character Serena, like she started whispering in the back of my head her backstory. And her backstory was like, oh, I went through something similar. And now I want to make sure other women don't suffer the way I did when I went through that. And so that's why she becomes a cop later on. So all the events here take place before the events here. So you can read these in whatever order. They're loosely connected with the same places. You'll see like the business names pop up. You may see like a couple of crossover characters, but like they can be read independently. And then this one actually takes place after this one, but before here. So it's all a big circle.
Full circle, yep.
This one, technically, yes, you can read it by itself. You're not going to miss anything. But when you read this one, there's going to be a lot of Serena in it. And so if you like her in this book and you want to know more about her, you'll find it in that one.
So you can kind of read them in any order, essentially.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to read the first two to understand the plot of Duress because it's just Everly and Dane's story. Nothing from these books hinges on how that book ends.
Let's talk about your first book, Astray, right? So in that book, we see both Eloise and Caleb. They're the main characters. We see that it alternates between their points of view. Now, what was your intentions of showing both of their point of views, and sometimes even the same scene, you see their point of view? So what message were you trying to get across with the alternating perspectives?
I kind of wanted to show how important communication is in a marriage, and if a couple aren't truly communicating with one another, you're not going to realize that you have problems until the problems are too big to fix. I wanted Caleb to be empathetic because he was my end game. And so I didn't want the readers to be mad at Caleb the whole time. Like, why is she like, he's a crappy husband. Why? No, I wanted people to empathize with him and realize like, oh, his heart's in the right place. He just sort of got his priorities out of whack. And when he realizes what's going on, he's all in with Eloise and trying to figure out what he needs to do to fix his marriage. And so I just really wanted people to get into his head and sympathize and realize like, oh, he's a good guy and like we're rooting for him.
Yeah. Well, we often don't really see that. We're usually like, oh my God, like this man, like, come on, step up, because essentially it's not really spoilery, but he prioritizes his work over his wife. And we're of course, like our first reaction is like, oh, how dare he, like she deserves better. And then Mr. Drew comes along and we're like, he's better. For the most part, for the beginning, like the first couple pages. So yeah, I think it's that you showing us, and we kind of get into his head. We're like, okay, we see where this is going.
Yeah, and I think that is a real struggle a lot of marriages have in real life, where one or both partners like focus too much on work or something else, and so the marriage suffers because they're too busy taking care of these other things. And it happens like as a parent, working, like what have you. And we just have to realize like, oh, we don't have to end the marriage if we can talk to each other and like reprioritize. Yeah. And that's sort of what happens.
But I like that their relationship is strong enough to make it through, like they're both willing to work for it. And Eloise kind of has like a moment of self-realization, like, hey, this is like my marriage can actually work if we kind of put in that effort. In the book Astray, there are things that happen. I won't give it away, but there are things that happen and the police do become involved, like you were saying, Serena. But we do see two different types of police officers and two different reactions from these police officers to the story that she tells them. What was your intentions with showing these two different reactions, unfortunately, to what happens to Eloise?
Well, and like I said, there are a lot of real life examples to pull from where the cops don't believe women when they come forward and say something happened. I don't know if you've seen American Nightmare. It's on Netflix. It's a little documentary about this couple where the girl was kidnapped in the middle of the night and the husband was like tied up and like whatever. And so she was kidnapped and she was gone for like a couple of weeks, and the cops thought that he had done it, even though he was like, no, I wasn't involved. And like if you watch the interview footage of it and there's just like, yeah, you did it, tell us what happened. And he's like, no, I didn't do it. And just the cops had their pet theory and they were not going to let it go. Later on, a female cop was the one that like kept digging into it and figured out what was going on. And I was like, wow, that's kind of prophetic. I didn't realize I'd gotten a little too on the nose there. I tend to lean myself more ACAB than anything, but I know there are still good people out there serving. And so I wanted to write like Serena, someone who you do have to believe that there's somebody you can turn to for help. And so that's what Serena is, like, to prove that there are people out there you can go to help. Like, it may not be all of them, but there are still some of them out there.
Yeah, definitely. And then that's eventually what inspired you to write Exile, which talks about Serena's point of view, and for us readers to learn, like, okay, why did she join the force and what happened to her? So
I gotta believe there's still people out there doing it for the right reasons, because otherwise, what's the point?
I know. Yeah, definitely. It's like we have to have that hope, right? It's not everything. Just because there's one, it's not all of it. You know, there's some good people in the bunch. So yeah. Well, that's a beautiful. I love that the two books tie into each other, and we kind of get Serena's backstory. And then I feel like reading it first might be like, okay, like now going into Astray, we can see like Serena, okay, like why she's so adamant on saying like, hey, no, I believe you. Like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
And what about duress? What themes can we see? Because this book is coming out August 1st. Yeah. So readers have not read it yet, but by the time this video probably comes out, it'll be released. So what can readers expect going into duress?
Duress kind of surprised me. Dane is in exile as a very kind of minor side character. Like, I wrote him in the beginning and it's just like, he's just a throwaway character. Like, I'm not, like, I named him Dane. Like, I didn't have any big plans for him. But then towards the end of Exile, he does something pretty badass. And everybody's like, ooh, when's he getting a book? I'm like, oh, you're going to make me write a book instead of a cop? Dang it. I had to think about it for a little while. And I was listening to Tracy Chapman's Give Me One Reason. And there was a line in the song that said, this youthful heart can love you. And I just was like, reverse age gap. You're going to work with a reverse age gap. And it just sort of like started filtering in from there. And so he's the younger one in this book, in love with his brother's wife. Ooh. And the brothers don't get along. It's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right. It's fine. It's fine.
The biggest theme in duress is like forgiveness, I think, and that you aren't just the worst decision you've ever made. Like, if you're willing to change and do better, then you can earn your forgiveness. That's the big theme from duress.
I love that. I can't wait to read that one. And I'm sure us readers that have already read Astray and Exile are so ecstatic to read duress. Well, you've written 3 books so far, and these are your first real babies, right? How has your writing or mindset evolved as you wrote each book?
My writing has evolved. Like, I've gotten cleaner. I've gotten more. I'm developing my characters. I'm going deeper into like their motivations and everything. I still love Astray. I'm still very proud of Astray, but like my friends who have read all 3 books, they're like, I can see how your writing has grown, and I can kind of tell it too. I don't know exactly how to like quantify how it's changed, but it has changed. It's matured a little bit. Like, the hard thing about being an author in romance in this thing is like marketing is so much of like, this is the trope, and these like all these like little things that like, oh, it's a dark romance with a stalker and reverse age gap, but my books aren't just the tropes. And honestly, I don't know what most of the tropes are until after I'm done, and then I got to figure out how to market it. I think, and my big thing is, it's like I write the story I want to write. I thought I would have to write to market, and maybe I should write to market if I want to be popular, but I just wanted to write the stories. Yeah. And then if readers like them, they like them. If they don't, they don't, and that's fine too.
But there's a market for you. I'm in that market. So there's already one. No, 2. Yes. Don't worry. You have full dark romance girly here. We'll read anything you write.
If I write anything, it'll be rugby romance, because have you seen the rugby players?
Yes.
Sure.
I don't know why rugby romance isn't taking the romance books by storm, because those thighs.
So Poppy, there you go. That's your when you're done with the dark romance, rugby romance is waiting for you. These 3 books talk about really heavy scenarios and, like we were saying, real life scenarios. And I'm sure they were very hard for you to write personally. Which one would you say was like the most challenging, or if all of them were challenging, in what way were they challenging?
So I'd say Exile was my most challenging one to write, and that's just because I was way out of my wheelhouse with like writing younger characters. Because like with Astray, one of the big things I wanted to do was write characters in their 30s or older, just because so many romance novels are like she's 18 or 21, and just I wanted to see more characters closer to my age in these books. But then when I was figuring out Serena's story, I was like, oh, I'm going to write her young because it's her backstory before Astray. So I had to put myself back into that like college age mentality, which was like 20 years ago. And that's a long time. But also Kai and Serena. Serena's biracial, Kai is Black. And to me, it was important for her to have a Black male character, her hero. And so I recruited a lot of sensitivity readers to help me along the way, make sure I was staying on track, making sure I was being respectful and actually like culturally appropriate and not straying too far into a territory where I'm telling a story that's not mine to tell. And that was a very fine line to walk with Exile, with the police and everything, because I wanted to acknowledge the real issues there without like preaching to people about like, because it's not my place to tell.
Right.
So it was a very fine line of writing all that. And there were a couple of times where I was like, I don't know if I can do this and not piss a bunch of people off, or like, I'm glad I did it. It was a challenge. I learned a lot. I had a lot of great conversations. I learned more about hair than I ever thought I'd learn, which is great because I don't know anything about my own hair. And like, it was great. I'm glad I challenged myself that way and made me rethink a lot of my own preconceived notions and all of that. And so it was good to kind of push myself out of there. I recommend anybody doing it. You just gotta recruit the right team to walk you through it.
I didn't even know that there were sensitivity readers. That's interesting.
That's a big thing, trying to get more diversity in books, because in general, publishing is very white. Like we are the default, and minority authors, like they have a harder time getting their foot in the door. And then like when white people write minority characters or characters not their race, they basically just write more white people and they have bronze skin.
Because that's what they're familiar with.
Yeah. And so they're trying, but not trying too hard. So I wanted to actually like give Kai and Serena their own personalities, their own characters, and like you could tell, oh, it's just not like a white person with a tan.
Yeah.
That was my goal.
So that's very interesting, and I'm glad that the sensitivity readers were able to help you. Like I said, I just learned something new. I didn't even know that they would.
Yeah.
Are they like like a like I don't know, like certified sensitivity?
So
like how does that work?
You got your alpha and your beta readers, and then there are some people who are like they do it professionally. Like sensitivity readers, you can hire and pay them if you know people that are willing to do it for you. The main thing is I would encourage doing it by a committee, like having multiples, because not one person can speak for an entire group of people, and everybody's lived experience is going to be different. So one person would make it up on this detail and be like, no, that's not right. Or this person would be like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, so I had to like listen to common complaints and feedback, pick up the common threads and figure out what needed to be changed, and then see what was just more personal lived experience and what I can kind of be flexible with. But I do think it's important because there's a lot of like little things that like we don't think twice about, and then somebody else reading it be like, we don't do that. Why would you write that? Oh yeah, didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's good. And it keeps it like true and like you said, culturally appropriate. So yeah, that's awesome. Out of all the characters that you've written so far, because you've written a few, which ones would you say is your favorite? And why?
I liked writing Sarah a lot in Astray, the best friend of Eloise, because she was my reader proxy for dumb bitch, what are you doing? Like, you've read books where you're like yelling at the character, like, why would you do that? Yeah. You just talk to him. Like, so Sarah's a proxy there, and so I got to have fun with her. And Miss G in Exile, she's my low comic relief character, and she's just kind of fun and silly. I honestly had a really good time writing my villains too. It kind of scares me a little how easily I got into that mindset, because I personally have not experienced these kinds of relationships in the way other people have. But I am concerned to how well I wrote it based on like people giving me feedback. They're like, wow, you really nailed that. And I'm like, I don't know. Should I go talk to somebody?
Well, you said it's also like based on experience, right? And you were
Yeah.
saying how like your friends kind of
Yeah, and so I didn't live it myself, but I guess I just like picked up enough from everybody else's stories that I'm like, oh yeah, this is what they do. This is how narcissists act, and this is, you know.
Are there any characters that you relate to?
There is a lot of me in Eloise, just because she's my first book. Like you can call her Mary Sue in the sense of like there's a lot of me in her. I didn't really like make anything crazy different about her versus me, just like change some of the minor details, but like a lot of my personality is in all of my books, but she's probably the one that's most like me.
She's a really good character, so that's awesome. Duress, tell us, is it the last book in this series, or do you plan on continuing it? You said you're kind of doing it as you go, so do you have an idea?
As I go, it's very open-ended, so I could keep going with it. I introduced a character in Duress that has potential to have her own story.
If the readers demand it.
We'll see if people are interested or like if anything kind of like springs up. But I am taking a break from the dark romance right now because I feel like I need something lighter just to kind of like, everything else is heavy right now and I need something happy.
A rugby romance?
I'm actually working on a rom-com that's like a sapphic bi-awakening.
Can you tell us any details about that?
I've been with my husband since 2007. And I've always been bi, but I've never really like dated or been with women just because like I was too chicken to do it when I was younger. And then I met him and then I'm stuck with him now. So this book is kind of like an older character. She's in her 30s. She's been in a long-term relationship that ends. And then she finds her next happy ever after with a woman. And it's just like sort of my way of like exploring that side of things and just like, what would it be like if I got to do that? And because I'm not going to leave a husband, but I'm also not going to replace him with another man if anything happens to him.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair.
So like, this is just like a happier, lighter, I just wanted to play around and explore that side of me and see where it goes.
That's awesome. Have you started writing it or are you just kind of plotting it right now?
And 10,000 words, 15,000 words into it. So it's not super far into it. And I don't know if it's just going to be like initially I was thinking a novella or a short story. So I don't know if it's going to be that or full-length book. And I haven't decided if I'm going to tie it into Birch Falls or not. Ooh. I don't know if that'd be confusing. Like I said, I don't plan things. It's just going to see what happens and then we'll go from there.
Well, if you write the fourth book and you can kind of throw that character into the fourth book and then if you want to tie it in that way.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll just like have references to like Brood Awakening or like some of the little businesses. So you're like, oh, it's a little Easter egg. And you know that they exist in the same world, even if they're not maybe the same town or something.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to be confusing. People pick up that book and then realize it's really different from the other books, but also I love an Easter egg, so
yeah,
probably for something.
And Easter eggs are fun because for your readers that have read like the other books, they're like, oh, like that I know that's from like Astray, for example. And I know authors that do like series and then it's like in like a grander universe, but it's like its own separate series, if that makes sense. So that's also a possibility. I know you're saying you're only 10,000 words in. Do you know if it's going to be like a standalone yet or a series? Or are you just kind of like, we'll see. We'll see when we get there.
We'll see when we get there.
All right. That's fair.
I don't even know if it's going to be a long book or a short book.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Well, I can't wait for that. Keep us posted because, listen. And if you decide to do that rugby romance, I'm sure the sports romance lovers out there will be so excited.
I mean, it would require me watching a lot of rugby to learn how the game works, but it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. And I guess I will.
You got to do it.
I'll take one for the team.
You're an author. You have to describe your characters, right? So
that's my weakness. I got to work on that.
You need to make sure that you're describing abs and the muscles and all that. So I know we talked a lot about like already some key takeaways from your books, but is there anything we haven't mentioned that you would want your readers to take away or to keep in mind when going into the series for the first time?
Beware of the red flags.
That's a big one. Yep. They're not always red, green flags, sort of.
They're very, very red flags for a reason. But I try really hard to make the guys with the red flags, like, I know I would have fallen for any of them like 20 years ago, easy. Like, I would have ignored those flags so fast. And so especially like younger readers, if you pick up these books, like, pay attention. This is real. Like, definitely don't chase after those red flags.
Well, that's why Sarah is there, right? And at least in Astray, she's like, girl, are you sure? Like,
you have a stalker. Yeah.
No, stalker. Because usually we're like, stalker what? No. But that's what I love about this series, right? It's so even me, like, I went into this book 1 completely blind. Book 2, I know how you are. So now I know. So I'm like, okay, I know red flag. But for Astray, I went in completely blind. So I was one of the people that was like, ooh, Drew, red flag, morally gray. And then halfway through, I was like, oh no, we're not doing that.
I still have people like pulling for a redemption arc for him. I'm like,
yeah, we were talking about that. What is...
I did a little too good of a job making him appealing, though. I guess, I don't know, I should have modeled him after Jason Momoa.
Said that people want a redemption arc. First of all, why? I have so many questions.
I mean, those are the dark romance readers who read the other books who are like, yeah, give me a Shadow Daddy Zayd or whatever. Like, they expected that.
Okay, I'm different.
I pulled the rug out from under them.
Well, okay, Zayd is different. Haunting Adeline girlies, you know that.
The people who are expecting Haunting Adeline and they read this book, they were like, oh yeah, Drew's hot. I'm all here for this.
That's what I went in thinking originally. And then halfway I was like, oh no, this is not, no. No, like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. Curiosity, are you thinking of doing like a spin-off for Drew?
Honestly, I have toyed with the idea of like the backstory for him, his college girlfriend Cassidy. And like her sister you meet in this book. I had thought about writing a book based on that, but it would just be a straight up thriller. It wouldn't have like that unless I figured out how to shoehorn a romance into it. I don't know. So I could like have him in it and like how he did all of that, trying not to give away too much. So there is potential for a story there, but I still don't think it would be the redemption arc anybody is looking for. I'm sorry, but I don't think he's redeemable.
I don't think he's redeemable either. So that's why I
just went a little too far.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little too far with the whole, all of it.
Okay. You watchers, listeners, and viewers need to go read this book and let us know if Drew deserves a redemption arc, because I say no. Apparently other readers say yes.
Some people say yes.
Well, the author says no, so let us know.
I think I would just have to be very creative. I don't know. I
don't know how creative you can be for that, but I don't know. But then like sometimes people are like, okay, well, if you give us like the backstory of why he became the way he is.
There's
I know there is none. No, there isn't. No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I'm playing devil's advocate of why people.
I can do that for a lot of things, but I don't think I can do it for Drew.
Oh my, yeah, I agree. And stick to the rugby romance. Let's kind of turn it to you a little bit. So what is something that readers might not know about you, or what's something like crazy or unexpected that maybe a lot of people don't know about you?
I'm the least interesting person ever.
That's not true.
I'm an avid reader. I have read my entire life. I didn't get into romance until like a few years ago. I just sort of fell down the romance rabbit hole and haven't made it back out yet, because I was a serious literature person for a very long time and reading like high fantasy and Lord of the Rings and things like that, like serious literature books. And then I started reading spicy romance. I'm like, oh, this is fun. Yeah.
It is fun.
And it like releases all the dopamine and makes me feel happy and good. And so that's like kind of my little happy zone now. Branch out occasionally because I do love a sci-fi or, something like that. But romance is the part that like lights up the happy part of my brain that just makes everything a little bit better. So like I don't know how long I'll be in romance, but I like it here. I want to stay.
You're comfortable here.
Yes.
Would you ever write like a fantasy? Would you ever tap into that?
I don't know if I have the world building skills for fantasy.
That's fair. It's hard.
Because I love a good like sci-fi fantasy with a really good world building. I just listened to a lot of the Placanian series audiobooks, like Choosing Theo and that series, and the world building the author does for those, it's phenomenal. It's so good.
Yeah.
And like Kimberly Lennings, I just binged her Meads and Mishaps series, and those are so fun. I don't know if I have it in me to make magic systems and whole new worlds and things like that. If I did any of it, it would probably be more like an urban fantasy that's based sort of in reality with like some rules changed. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not gonna say no. Yeah, I don't.
On your radar.
I don't plan anything, so we'll just see where.
Maybe one day you'll just get inspired. You're like, hey, like I'm gonna write a fantasy today.
I mean, I didn't think I was gonna write a book. So.
That's exactly what I'm saying. No, keep it open, keep it on the radar. We're giving you so many ideas. Well, you wrote Astray in 2023, right? Well, it's been a while, right? And now you have 3 books almost published. What would you, if you can go back in time to when you were writing Astray, what advice would you give yourself?
Learn more social media marketing. The writing part wasn't bad. Like, I enjoyed the writing part. That's honestly the easiest part about being an author is the writing part. I think for me doing this later in life, like, I know not everybody's going to like what I write. And that's fine. I don't expect everybody to like it. And so I don't like go into this thinking everybody's going to love my book or everybody has to love my book because I wrote my book. Well, no, I don't love every book I read. And I just hope that I always kind of keep that grounded attitude about it. Like, if you like it, it's great. If you don't, that's fine too. Like, I didn't do this expecting to become famous. I just did it because I wanted to tell a story.
And that's awesome. You did it because you love it. And like I said earlier, there are people that also love it.
I would tell myself, figure out how to work TikTok. I never did figure it out. TikTok and I are not friends.
Last question here.
Okay.
So if you can give one piece of advice to aspiring authors, what would you tell them?
Not everybody's going to like everything you write, and you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with people not liking it for dumb reasons that you don't agree with. Readers are going to read, and they're going to have their own opinions, and you really can't affect that at all. You just have to, okay, well, you didn't like it, that's fine, and just move on. Don't go chase after readers for bad reviews. Don't tag authors in bad reviews. Don't do that. But also, like, you just gotta have a really thick skin and just know, write your book, the story you want to tell that you're proud of, and that's the best you can do. And if other people like it, that's amazing. And if some people don't, that's fine.
There's always going to be someone that loves it, and as long as you love writing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it as long as it's fun, and if it ever gets to the point where it's not fun, then I just won't write it anymore.
Well, hopefully that won't be, because you need to keep writing. I say that with all my love, all the love. All right, well, thank you, Poppy, so much for this. This has been such a great conversation. I loved getting to know you. And for our viewers and our followers, where can they go to support you, and where can they go to find your books?
All of my books are in Kindle Unlimited. So the ebooks you can only find in Kindle Unlimited because Amazon's exclusivity, whatever. But you can buy the paperbacks from Amazon. I also sell signed copies through my website. There's a pre-order with Romancelandia bookstore in Maryland for Duress. So if you pre-order through their website, you get a choice of a art print to come with it. There's 2 versions of this print. I cannot show both versions of the print. One is safe to show and one is not safe to show. So if you order through Romancelandia, you get a signed copy with the art print included. I think Bibliopub has copies of my books. I think I'm at other bookstores. I don't know for sure which ones or where. I just get random notifications from Ingram Spark saying I sold a book occasionally. So it's out there. Request it. Go to your bookstores and say, hey, do you have Poppy Fitzgerald? You need to have Poppy Fitzgerald. So that's Kai and Serena, and that is Caleb and Eloise. And my artists are amazing.
They're
I love
so talented. Oh my gosh. Love that. Awesome. They're gorgeous. I am obsessed. And your social media, if people want to follow you.
So Instagram is where I'm most active with book stuff, and it is Poppy Fitz Writes. I'm also on Threads. That's where you get me as a person, like my nonsense that comes out of my brain. You'll see it on Threads. So if you want to know me, follow me on Threads. If you just want to know about my books, follow on Instagram. I do have a Facebook page that is what it is, and then I've got a TikTok that unfortunately does not get shown to anybody because TikTok hates me. But at Poppy Fitz Writes on TikTok as well. So follow me on TikTok and make TikTok like me.
Yeah,
we're not getting along.
Make TikTok like her, guys.
Apparently TikTok sells books, and I haven't figured out how to make that work yet. I'm not a face person, so like TikTok, I'm not a natural be on the camera kind of person, and so that's why TikTok and I haven't clicked.
Well, we'll have all of Poppy's links and social media links in the description for all of our watchers and viewers and listeners. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find TBR Trio on Instagram, TikTok, obviously, and YouTube at tbr.trio. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The subscription really does help us. It's free, which we love. We'll see you guys next time to see what other tales TBR tells. That's a wrap.